Hi, this is Thomas Mashad, and I want to welcome you to Brain Doodles. In our first lesson here, in building blocks, we are going to take a look at two very basic elements, the dot and the line. Without these two, we can't do much else. So let's get right into it and start taking a look at what the dot can do for us. Okay, so the dot is very, very basic. It's just kind of like putting a very large period on your page. And then we can end up maybe like putting a line and an arrow added on to that. And so maybe we say on this one we're missing the point. So this is how we learn to think visually, to start giving visual cues to things that we might have to write out. So missing the point, writing all of that out versus just having a dot and an arrow next to it makes it a little bit easier to visually identify that maybe we're missing the point on something, or maybe a character in the book is missing a point on something. We could also set out to create a series of points that we need to make in a presentation, such as our first point, our second point, and our third point, or point A, point B, and point C. We could maybe make a visual timeline. So we can draw this out horizontally with the arrow. Okay, so here we're showing direction going from point A to point B. And each one of these could have a certain date or some information down below that can help us out. But all of these things now, we can kind of quickly visually organize our information. So the next thing we need to take a look at is how to using these lines a little bit more and the options that we have for those lines. Okay, so for our lines, we have some very basic lines that we can take a look at. The first one would be, of course, the solid line, straight line. And when I say straight, I don't mean perfectly straight using a ruler. This is just simply drawing out by hand, whether they be horizontal or vertical or at an angle. Okay. We can use these in a number of different ways that we're going to take a look at in further videos. Also, you have the curved line, and this, when you draw it on more of a vertical axis, this looks like a letter S, so this is also called an S curve. We can use these also maybe like at an angle. And here we could draw different shapes and objects with just using that alone. Okay, so right now it kind of looks maybe like a little bit of a river. We could end up curling these and looping these around. And when we loop these around, maybe we were drawing out a tornado or like a whirlpool or something like that. The next line would be, say, like an angled line, and already, I love the mountains, and so just looking at them, kind of gives me this idea of the mountains off into the distance. We can, draw these different ways, and already you might be thinking, hey, like I've got a lightning bolt, so we could draw those at an angle. We could just take a small snippet of just an angled line, putting it on its side, adding a straight line to it, and then here we already have our arrow. All of these things I want to show you because I know that you know how to draw these things. It seems very basic, but how can we start to use these to getting ideas to help us think visually within our notes and in our presentations to help others remember things, that we have a direction that we're going rather than just writing out the word direction. Seems a little boring, okay? But when we see an arrow, we know that we have some action that we're going to be doing, and it really engages our thinking even more. Now, you don't have to draw solid. You can draw dashed, whether it be a straight line or a curved line. You could even add them to angled lines if you wanted to. But really what this is just doing is it kind of breaks up the solidness of the lines and maybe showing maybe steps, going, we have, point A, and we're going to have certain steps to get to point B. So, it's not like going to be this smooth transition. We have these steps that we're going to be going through. Okay, so let's take a look and see how we can start to combine all of these basic elements together. Okay, so when combining, maybe like right now, even just the dot with the line, one of the very first basic things is, of course, that we have, the dot with the line, the straight line, and the angled line. And this gives us direction. We have a point A. We're going to move on to point B. Okay, so we've taken a look at that, but then also we can, use these angle or these curved lines and, combine that with a dashed line. And so hopefully, maybe it gives us an idea of what it looks like as a road. And we have, we have our starting point here. So we have our line, we have our dot, and we can create a little flag. And then, way off in the distance, just to getting an idea of, we have certain steps that we're going to go through. And on this road, this journey, we've got to go through point A, point B, or step B, C, and D. Okay? And so each one of these, we could say, these are the goals that we've got to do for each one of these. All right? So this is how we use the combination of shapes to help give us, a better idea visually that we're making this journey. Or maybe that you have an idea. So we draw out a lightning bolt with, curved lines, and we have this cloud, just some more curved lines, and we're going to learn how to create, faces and figures and stuff like that. But here, we have our brainstorming session. We have the cloud kind of where the brain is at, and we have, the lightning bolt coming down from that. So we have this brainstorming session. So start to use these visual cues to, bring your notes from, seeing lines of text to starting to see, we have these visual cues that we can quickly look at and that make it more interesting and for our mind to engage and to learn more effectively.